So about a year and a half ago, a bat virus infected human beings and transferred into something that infected human beings. I don't need to tell everybody what's happened since then. The official answer for why it's happened, and it is a possible answer, is that this was a new zoonotic transmission, that it crossed over from an animal into a human. But there's another hypothesis which is plausible, and that is one that there was an accident in a laboratory that ended up impacting the world the way we've seen. And there's reason to believe that's plausible. Number one, researchers at the Wuhan Institute of Virology have demonstrated from their publication record that they were skilled at techniques that in which they genetically modified bat coronaviruses in order to create new man-made viruses that were highly capable of creating disease in human beings. Second, there have been several lab leaks documented that have occurred in China, including ones involving the original SARS virus. And third, U.S. diplomats who visited the Wuhan Institute of Virology in 2018 warned of the risks of the subpar safety standards that they observed. I think it's really a two-part question, and I'll start with you, Director Haynes, but I think Director Burns or General Nakasone can weigh in. We can't conclude definitively that the virus that causes COVID-19 emerged naturally until there's a transmission chain that's been identified, how the virus evolved and transmitted between species. And to date, no such path of zoonotic transmission has been definitively identified. Are those two things accurate?
Thank you, Vice Chairman. So it is absolutely accurate. The intelligence community does not know exactly where, when, or how COVID-19 virus was transmitted initially. And basically, components have coalesced around two alternative theories. These scenarios are it emerged naturally from human contact with infected animals, or it was a laboratory accident, as you identified. And that is where we are right now, but we're continuing to work on this issue and collect information, and to the best we can, essentially, to give you greater confidence in what the scenario is. But I'll leave to my colleagues if there's anything that they want to add.
No, sir, Mr. Vice Chairman, I agree with what Avril said. I mean, the one thing that's clear to us and to our analysts is that the Chinese leadership has not been fully forthcoming or fully transparent in working with the WHO or, in providing the kind of original complete data that would help answer those questions. So we're doing everything we can using all the sources available to all of us on this panel to try to get to the bottom of it.
Second, I'm sorry, General.
No, I would just add, Vice Chairman, that to your parlance, we continue to gather and to analyze and form series of pieces that we're looking at, working very, very closely partnered with obviously the IC here, but also with a number of other partners in the interagency and in academia as well.
The second topic I wanted to touch with you is it's really based on your assessment. Beijing, this quote from it, Beijing has been intensifying efforts to shape the political environment in the United States to promote its policy preferences, to mold public discourse, to pressure political figures whom Beijing believes oppose its interests, and muffle criticism of China on such issues as religious freedom and the suppression of democracy in Hong Kong. We're all, at this point, I think, well aware of of Russian influence and disinformation efforts, but I think we make a mistake to not focus on both China's capabilities and on its growing and intensifying efforts to involve and engage itself in our political environment here in the United States. Different aims, perhaps, different tactics in some ways, but certainly they have every capability that the Russians do, and more in many cases, and they are certainly interested in molding public discourse and creating political pressure creating pressure on political figures who they don't like here in the United States. I was hoping you could further elaborate on that for the benefit of the American public.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I'll start, and I have a feeling that others will have things to say on this. In particular, Director Wray obviously spends time on this issue a lot. I couldn't agree with you more that this is an issue with both China and Russia that we are working to try to ensure, frankly, that we can educate the American public on these issues. We have within the ODNI, I'll just speak to that for a moment, a national counterintelligence center that focuses on this issue and has done enormous amounts of outreach to the private sector. I know we have worked, obviously, with your committee to try to have engagements that help to bring this to various sectors to help them understand the degree to which China is trying to influence and also the degree to which they're engaging in counterintelligence activities. It's a top priority for the intelligence community. But let me hand it over to Director Wray.
So I have testified previously that I don't think there is any country that presents a more severe threat to our innovation, our economic security, and our democratic ideas. And the tools in their toolbox to influence our businesses, our academic institutions, our governments at all levels are deep and wide and persistent. In addition to some of the things that have been mentioned in the threat assessment, I'll just highlight one which just illustrates the diversity of their tactics. We had an indictment that we announced, I think, last fall that relates to the Chinese Operation Fox Hunt, which is essentially them conducting uncoordinated, illegal law enforcement activity here on U.S. soil as a means to threaten, intimidate, harass, blackmail members of the same diaspora that Chairman Warner mentioned in his opening comments. And it's an indication and an illustration of just how challenging and diverse this particular threat is. We have now over 2,000 investigations that tie back to the Chinese government. And on the economic espionage investigation side alone, it's about a 1,300% increase over the last several years. We're opening a new investigation in China every 10 hours, and I can assure the committee that's not because our folks don't have anything to do with their time.